Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. 21 years old gets over 28 years in prison for murder robbery of Clarendon vendor. A 21-year-old Clarendon man was sentenced to over 28 years in prison for the shooting, death, and robbery of a fruit vendor in Maypen on Valentine's Day. Romeo Fullerton, who pleaded guilty, was sentenced to 16 years imprisonment for robbery with aggravation, 23 years and 2 months for possession of a prohibited weapon, and 28 years and 3 months imprisonment for murder. The sentences are to run concurrently. Sentencing was handed down in the Clarendon Circuit Court. Facts are thus about 8:30 p.m. on February 14, 27-year-old Keith McIntosh of Mocha in Clarendon was selling fruits in Maypen when he was approached by Fullerton and another man. There was a brief conversation during which he was shot multiple times by Fullerton. As McIntosh fell to the ground, he was robbed of a bag that he had around his neck. The hoodlums escaped from the scene. An investigation by the Maypen Criminal Investigations Branch led to Fullerton being arrested, and he was subsequently charged. He made numerous court appearances and later pleaded guilty on April 26 before Justice Anne-Marie Lawrence Granger. Man gunned down in broad daylight in St. Anne. A man was shot dead in Content Gardens, Orchard, St. Anne on Wednesday morning. He has been identified as Benjamin Graham, otherwise called Pepe, of the area. Reports were that about 10:10 a.m., residents heard gunshots and summoned the police. Upon the arrival of the lawmen, Graham was seen lying on the floor of a one-bedroom dwelling, suffering from gunshot wounds. He was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. Residents of Content Gardens have expressed concern following Graham's death. Right now, the whole place is tense. The killing is getting too bad in St. Anne. Matter of fact, the whole of Jamaica. Look how many parishes have SOE, and the killers are still on a spree. This doesn't look good. This looks like a bloody Christmas, a resident who identified as Joe stated. Another resident said she heard the shots while doing chores. I was washing some plates when I heard the shots and wondered if it was clappers, because Christmas time I come around. About an hour later, somebody called me and said, if me hear about the shooting, broad daylight, me couldn't believe it, she said. According to the constabulary, as at December 2nd, St. Anne has recorded 75 murders, 12 more than the corresponding period last year. JP robbed a firearm, cash after stopping to urinate in St. Anne. A gunman held up and robbed a justice of the peace of his last firearm and over $40,000 cash along the Bull Point Main Road in Orchard, St. Anne on Tuesday. The 74-year-old justice of the peace was robbed while relieving himself along the roadway, reporters understand. Information reaching reporters indicated that around 11 a.m. the JP, who is also a businessman, was in the process of relieving himself in bushes near the road when a man called out to him by his name. It is understood that the man asked him about signing some pictures for him and walked closer to the JP. The man then pulled a firearm and demanded that the JP put up his hands. The gunman then pulled the JP's firearm with 17 rounds from his waistband, searched him, and took $40,000 from his pocket. He then escaped in a vehicle waiting nearby. The police have since launched a manhunt for the gunman. 9 months more in prison for Tamarind Farm escapee. Nathan Whittle, the inmate who escaped from the Tamarind Farm Adult Correctional Center in Spanish Town, St. Catherine in October of this year, was on Friday sentenced to 9 months in prison for the offense. The sentence was handed down by Parish Judge Daniela Nelson Gale when Whittle appeared in the St. Catherine Parish Court. Whittle, who was serving a sentence of firearm-related offenses at the correctional facility at the time he escaped on Thursday, October 25th, was held by the police during a targeted raid at a house on King Street in Port Antonio, Portland a day later. The 25-year-old convict is said to be from Orange Hill in Brownstown, St. Anne. In relation to the escape, the Department of Correctional Services DCS reported that an officer at the correctional center informed that at approximately 9:50 a.m. on October 25th, Whittle escaped from among a group of 12 inmates who were working on the institution's farm. He was reportedly seen running towards the main road from the institution and was unsuccessfully traced by correctional officers. Whittle had been serving a sentence of 4 years for the offenses of illegal possession of firearm and illegal possession of ammunition. 2 years prison sentence for a man who stole plantains from school farm. A St. Catherine man who pleaded guilty to stealing plantains from the farm of Guys Hill High School in the parish was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Rowan Griffiths, otherwise called Little Dread, of Roxville in Guys Hill, had confessed to the charge of murder and larceny. The court read that about 1:30 a.m. on September 17, Griffiths was accosted at the school's farm with several bunches of plantains. The police were called in and he was arrested. He was later charged with murder and larceny following a question and answer session. JUTC route changes coming to meet high demand for service, stated Vols. Commuters can expect changes to several Jamaica Urban Transit Company JUTC operated routes in the new year. Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport Minister Darrell Vols said the changes are intended to meet the anticipated increase in demand for a service resulting from the temporary reduction in bus fares beginning January 2024. We estimate that we'll get a big influx of additional passengers, he said. We need to make sure that the buses can ply the routes in a more timely manner, and so we'll be doing some announcements in relation to some specific routes and some designated lanes for passenger public transportation, he said. Effective January 1, 2024, there will be a reduction in the regular JUTC fare from $100 to $70, a decrease in the fare for children from $30 to $25, and for pensioners from $40 to $30. In addition, come April 1, 2024, there will be a further reduction in the regular fare from $70 to $50. Fares for children will be further reduced from $25 to $20, and pensioners' rate from $30 to $25. The reductions, announced by Finance and Public Service Minister Dr. Nigel Clark in the House of Representatives on November 21, form part of measures to curtail the impact of the increase in public passenger vehicles PPV fares on the overall inflation rate. Problems reported the burn at Spanish Town Prison over plans to relocate inmates. Concerns have been raised over possible protests at the St. Catherine Adult Correctional Center in Spanish Town over plans to relocate inmates from some blocks and placing them in already crowded areas of the facility. One source claimed on Monday that the sections where the inmates will be relocated to was previously considered unfit to keep prisoners. Now suddenly, they want to use that area, the concerned source stated. Another source expressed that problems could be brewing inside the prison. Nobody announced publicly that they will be relocated, said the second source, who is well placed within the correctional service but requested not to be named. Today, there are over 900 people in a place that was built for 600. It is already overcrowded. If you close some blocks, the inmates will be packed up like sardine, one on top of the other. They are fierce right now, the source stated. In 2022, the St. Catherine Adult Correctional Center, which had a capacity to hold roughly 850 inmates, housed close to 1,000 prisoners. Minister with responsibility for the Department of Correctional Services DCS, Juliet Cotton-Flynn, on Monday, stated that plans of relocation came about due to damage to certain sections of the prison following a series of recent earthquakes. There have been quite a number of earthquakes which have taken place in Jamaica in the last few weeks. As you are aware, our prisons are very old. They were built in the 1700s and 1800s, and assessment was done of all correctional facilities just to make sure that there were no cracks and they were safe for the inmates because we have to protect them, she said. At St. Catherine, there were some cracks that were found. We deem it important enough to say we have to possibly remove some of the inmates, and we are looking now at those alternatives because you are aware we just had another earthquake a few days ago, and so we're looking at the welfare of the inmates at this time and looking at alternative measures. She added that they are currently looking at different options to ensure the safety of the inmates. As it relates to refurbishing to the affected building, they will have to be assessed. Nothing has been set in stone as to what will take place, she continued. Once the inmates are removed from the area, another team will go out to have another look at the building to make the assessment. Nothing is set at this time. When we will move, it is something I am unable to see, but we want to do so as quickly as possible. We just have another earthquake over the weekend. Parts of Jamaica were shaken by a 3.8 earthquake magnitude on Sunday afternoon, which followed a series of bigger tremors in recent weeks, including a frightening 5.6 magnitude earthquake in October that caused cracks and other damages to many buildings. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell